The popular ride-sharing companies Uber and Lyft are being sued by a group of their male drivers. A pair of lawsuits filed in San Francisco court claim the male drivers are being discriminated against because of the feature on the apps that allows riders to set a preference for being assigned female drivers.
And the feature works the other way too, as female drivers can also set a preference for picking up female riders. The suit against Uber reads in part, when a woman passenger requests a ride, Uber prioritizes women drivers to fulfill that ride rather than selecting a suitable driver based on neutral principles. Male drivers, in other words, are discriminated against and receive fewer and different rides than they otherwise would.
The lawsuits go on to say Uber and Lyft are in violation of California civil rights law for creating these programs. According to a report from Time magazine, they're seeking $4,000 in damages per male driver in California.
Uber launched its Women Preferences program in the U.S. in September and announced earlier this week it's expanding the program to 26 cities. Lyft implemented a similar program more than 2 years ago, and it's currently available in all American cities where Lyft operates.
The programs were created following lawsuits and accusations that the companies have not properly handled cases of sexual misconduct and assault. When Uber's Women Preferences program was announced in August, the Heritage Foundation denounced it, writing, "This kind of reminds one of a time when taxi drivers all too often sped up and drove past black residents trying to hail them for a ride. Now such conduct is prohibited by law. The only difference between the racist taxi drivers of old and the sexist Uber drivers of new is that the digital drive-by discrimination is based on sex instead of race, but both are prohibited under the law." So there's actually several different elements to this which are all under this sort of one umbrella. I have no objection at all to female passengers being allowed to select a female driver, because I think that that is acceptable on the basis that sadly the vast majority of sexual assaults are carried out by men, most of them directed at women. I think it is valid for a woman in a private setting, essentially, in a car, to request a female driver. That is a bit different to me than what, in parts of this suit, it implies that whether the female passenger selects that option or not, Uber is taking it upon itself to offer the ride more often to a female driver. That seems a bit different to me because the passenger has not thereby expressed a preference. The app is deciding to treat drivers in a different way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think it's kind of similar to when you go to get a massage, you pick between whether you want a female or a male masseuse in order to make the customer most comfortable. And I'll admit, there's been situations where I've been in Ubers where I don't feel entirely safe. My husband is very picky about which Ubers I get into now, which is so sweet, and I love him to death for that. It's like one of the best aspects of marriage is you have someone just looking out for you. But yeah, I mean, and all my, my girlfriends have had issues with male drivers being creepy. I've had Uber drivers ask me for my phone number, sitting in front of my house. Like, it can get like the Wild West out there. It's scary stuff. So I understand the impulse to want a female driver. On the other hand, females are terrible drivers now. So I don't know why on earth you would only want women drivers.
There'd be there'd be social media headlines.
Only joking.
Yes.
Sort of. But yeah, I think it's different when Uber is going out of its way to create an algorithm that punishes male drivers as opposed to a passenger making that selection. Or alternatively, the female drivers. There's a viral video recently of and this case happened years ago, but of a woman Uber driver having a gun put to her head by a passenger, and I believe she was eventually murdered. And so there's a fear of, like, I don't know who's getting into my back seat.
Right.
So yes, that element of it does not concern me as much as Uber deliberately prioritizing female drivers and passengers, which does seem very discriminatory.
Right, and I think that seems a much more solid ground for any kind of lawsuit than giving people the choice, as you say, similar to to a massage situation or various, there are various situations in which it is, I think, commonsensical to acknowledge that there can be valid gender preferences. But as I say, when no preference is expressed and the company decides otherwise, that then I do think becomes a different thing.
I mean, if I go to a gym, I probably don't want a male janitor cleaning the women's locker room.
Right.
I would feel much more comfortable with a woman coming in and changing out the toilet paper and bringing in fresh towels.
Right. Yes, indeed. And that does it for us on Rising Live. Look out for more exclusive YouTube content coming your way today. Be sure to like, share and subscribe to the Hills YouTube channel so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'll be back with Robbie on Monday and we'll be here next Friday. And in the interim, enjoy your weekend. Have a good day.